What's good, everybody, man? Welcome into the Bluebloods official podcast of FCS Football Central on SI. I'm your host, Zach McKinnell, joined by my guy, Gerald Huggins, contributor, NFL draft expert for the site, also DFO over at Morgan State, man, and one of the most knowledgeable people about this game of college football and national scout for the East West Shrine Bowl, man. So I'm looking forward to chopping up with my guy in Dallas this upcoming week, man. But Gerald, man, how we feeling?
Good man. Nice, cold and just snow-filled Baltimore. Oh, it's so. You know what? This city literally is feeling it today because that drop by Mark Andrews. I just knew the city just it was bad. So it's really quiet in here in Baltimore this week. So I mean, we'll see. Lord have mercy. I pray for them. But I can't wait to talk about these guys, man. I know me and you've been talking back and forth about a few of them. So let's get started, man.
Man, we'll start here. First topic has to be you dropped your top 10 FCS prospects. I want to kind of go through the list. Obviously, me and you kind of talked about each of our lists. We have a little bit different in the middle there, but man,
Mhm.
consensus number one. And I think it's a consensus number one for a lot of people. David Walker, Central Arkansas edge rusher, will be at the Senior Bowl next week. Has a chance to work into that, I think, day two, early day two consideration. I don't think he has day one upside right now. It's just going to be tough. Me and you talked about this. The edge rusher class this year is just unbelievable. And so for Walker to be day two out of Central Arkansas is saying enough. But you're talking about a guy who has done it all, man. I mean, what, three-time Buck Buchanan Award finalist, Buck Buchanan winner, three-time consensus All-American, three-time Defensive Player of the Year. If you need a checklist on guys from the FCS who should be drafted, David checks all those boxes, man. Give me your take here and what makes him your number one prospect coming out of the FCS.
When you watch the film, Zach, man, the kid is so explosive. This might be one of the most explosive guys I watched on tape. And this is considering that I scout the ACC and the Sun Belt as well. So that says a lot because there's some explosive defensive linemen in those two conferences. But with him, man, he's just so explosive. He's powerful and he's quick. I mean, the only thing I said they'll probably knock him for, he's not very long. So he might be, I think they gave him about 6'1". So he might be 161, 62 ish. So he's probably about 6'3" with pads on, but I think he's pushing about 260 pounds. So at the edge, he can be a true edge setter. Maybe you can make him a stand up 3-4 kind of a Sam if you want. I think he has the athleticism to be able to drop back in coverage and cover shallow zones. You don't want him covering tight ends by any stretch of the imagination, but his calling card is think of like a. I'm not saying it's the same player, but just think about like a Jared Verse where he's just like a big, powerful guy that he has some shiftiness to him, but for the most part, he could go through your chest and he could work that outside shoulder and he could beat up that outside shoulder. So the kid is stout, generates knockback. He's violent with his disengaging. I think the only reason if he was 6'4", this we're talking about day one ish, like back in day one, early day two. But for me right now, I'm just keep cold. I would say let's say keeping it safe and say third, fourth round, and we'll see how it goes right now. I mean, if he goes down there and dominates in Mobile, then nothing would shock me.
There's always those players. I think Lobby was a superstar last year, right? There's always an FCS guy that goes down to Mobile or goes over to Dallas and just
Yep.
puts on a show, right? Becomes a superstar. I think Cody Malk from North Dakota State did that 2 years ago at the Senior Bowl for offensive line, went to the Buccaneers, has started for 2 years. Mason McCormick at the Shrine last year was out there killing people. I was talking, I told you before the show, I was talking to another scout about this. Someone's going to not know what the logo is on that helmet when David Walker walks out there, and someone from the SEC is going to have a bad day
Yes.
in one-on-ones, and they're not going to know what's coming because and me and you talked about this with Sundiata Anderson. Even though David can be an effective pass rusher, his best quality, in my opinion, Gerald, is his ability to stop the run. How
Mhm.
physical, how dominant he is in the run game, because we know he can get to the quarterback. That's necessary to be a good edge rusher, right? But not every good pass rusher is good against the run. It's hard to be good at both. And you're a former D lineman. I played O line. It's harder to be good against a run as an edge rusher than it is to be a good pass rusher, in my opinion.
Correct. It's a mentality. It's a mentality, and you really have to. Your technique has to be way more sound. Definitely, if you're a 4-eye guy, 5 tech, 3 tech, 2-eye, whatever you name. So if you're going against double teams, you got to know how to split it. There's many ways how to split a double team. You can drop the knee. You could read what's the corkscrew that I used to teach my D linemen. There's many different ways, but the biggest thing I like about him that he'll be effective in the run game, his hands are violent and he has good hand placement. And it's consistent hand placement. You don't really see hands too outside the shoulders too much. He's usually getting his hands inside. So he may be 6'1", but it seems like he has some long arms. So I want to
Yeah.
see the measurements, because if he hits 33 arm, then we're, teams like arms, and that's why they knocking. Well, we're not gonna get too far. We'll talk about him later.
Yeah, well, he'll be on the show. Don't worry.
Yeah, but end of the day, if you're 6'1", but you have 33 arms, I mean, now we're working with something. Now you can get extension. But listen, me and you both, we've been talking about David all year. He's the guy. He's our top guy for a reason.
Well, we're going to kind of combine these two topics. And then we'll move on to the next guy. What's his biggest question for you when he goes down to Mobile? What does he have to prove? Like, what's the number one thing on his checklist?
Everything that me and you have seen on film, he just has to do it when he gets to Mobile. That's literally all he has to do. Like, just say, hey, you are an explosive, violent, hand-fighting, block-destructing edge rusher. You may be a little undersized with the height, but you have more than enough mass at 260, 200, however much he weighs, to be able to hold up against the run. So when you go on your run fit drills, you stand those offensive linemen up. You're already 6'1". Get under them, stick them, hold the point. When you go into pass rush drills, hey, listen, I know they usually say don't bull rush in these situations, but don't bull rush. But hey, listen, if you give him a nice long arm to the chest and you knock him to the ground, just do everything we've seen you do on tape. I don't think there's anything that he can really do wrong unless he just decides to not be the David Walker that we know.
Yeah, just be David Walker. I like that. That's good advice. Now, this guy was my number one prospect coming into the year before David kind of took that next step. Because listen, David's been David, but I do think he had his best year this year. But Charles Grant at William and Mary, both are number two guys on both of our lists. This guy for 3 years, Gerald, has been probably the most consistent offensive lineman at the FCS level. And I think probably, in my opinion, and there might be someone I'm overlooking, but in terms of NFL prospects, I think he's the most athletic offensive lineman we have in this class. And probably the past 2 or 3, maybe, because he is super athletic. He's great in pass protection. They have been one of the top rushing attacks in the FCS. Give me your rundown on Charles Grant, man.
Well, me and you have talked about how much I've struggled with a comp for him, man, because he's really athletic. And I think, the biggest thing with him, like in a certain scheme, like you think of like a San Francisco or something like that, you put him in a certain scheme where he could just go laterally, fit, get his hands in and run guys up the field or run guys down the line of scrimmage. That is his game. I mean, he is long too. I think about 6'4", 6'5", just but he looks like he has really long arms. The lateral agility is there. And like I said, his calling card, don't put him in a gap scheme system. Do I think he could? Sure. Do I think he should? No. I think he needs to be in a zone-based blocking scheme where he could just leverage his ability to fit on the move, be able to do independent hand usage, and be able to just reach guys. I mean, I've seen him reach darn near a two eye. So he was on the left, he had left tackle, he was working to the right. He pretty much reached a 2-eye. Well, you played offensive line. That's not easy to do.
For people who haven't played O-line, they don't understand how impressive that is. They really don't.
That is insane. So for me, like he gets to the second level with smoothness. Like he's nimble. You can tell he has real strong ankles. He has a good, strong base, considering, they have him listed at 285. So I'm assuming he will get to the Senior Bowl I'm hoping about 300, 305. Now, if he can maintain the athleticism at 300 pounds plus, then we're really cooking with something here. So the biggest thing with him is he just need to utilize his athleticism. And if he can showcase the ability to anchor down against, when me and you talk about some of these, because we have defensive line, we have edge rushers here that are 6'6", 290 pounds at the Senior Bowl. So they might be his size or bigger. So if he can showcase the ability to be able to withstand the power rushers and stuff like that in the run game and against the pass, now we're talking about, oh man, we already got a high level athlete at 6'4", 285. Maybe we could work this into the day 2 kind of, maybe pushing 1. But I will just say safe and say day 2, maybe 3rd, 4th round. He's not getting past the 4th round. I highly doubt that happen.
No. I do think, even though David's my number one prospect, I think Grant is the only FCS guy who has a potential to slip into the first round. like somewhere in those 30s, maybe late 20s, if someone really falls in love with them in Mobile, just because of the positional need, right? Everyone's looking for those. And we saw it. Who was the kid? I'm blanking on the kid's name from Chattanooga, Cole Strange.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody had a first round grade on Cole Strange, and the Patriots fell in love with him, and he started as a rookie. I want to say the entire season.
Yeah, that's all it takes is one team to fall in love with you, man. And remember we were talking about Kyron from last year from Yale. It's just like
Yep.
I don't think Kyron is now. I'm not going to try and compare them because Kyron is not a little big. He was actually bigger. I mean,
Yeah,
Kyron's
he was a lot bigger. I think he just had a bigger frame.
yeah, he's a freak. So it's like, but you can see that kind of trajectory. Like, hey, if we could get Charles to 310, what do we? I mean, if Charles goes in and he has like Kyron or Neem Dankwa like arms at 6'4", then you keep him at tackle. You keep him there and you use the athleticism. Now, if you want to put him at left or right, that's up to you. But I think with the athleticism, if you get some weight on him and you work on his anchor, because just due to the size, sometimes hard to hold up. But you get him in the NFL weight room, you get that strength together. Now you have a left tackle with high athleticism and high traits for the next 10 years.
That's why I think I really one quality I really like is I've really valued this in offensive lineman is his willingness to finish blocks. Because he is not afraid to go
Yeah.
finish a block, and he's looking for it. And there's some offensive linemen that it feels like that they hesitate on that, and it hurts them in the long run. Also, too, we see so many FCS guys, even the great ones, right? Cody Mauch, Mason McCormick, all these guys, they always have to be moved inside. He's one of the first like prototypical tackles
Yeah.
that I think has, like you said, has the frame, the arm length, the game to stick at tackle at the next level. And I think that's important.
I agree. I completely agree. And he's probably the one I'm most excited to see because I just know if he's able to plant his feet into the ground and hold these edge rushers up, somebody's going to grab him earlier than we expect. I just
Yeah.
can't see someone looking at that kind of athlete. And then, end of the day, you always want to, for me and you, the FCS guys that did everything right, that dominated a certain about 3+ years at their level, like they deserve that. So you just want to see if he goes there and if he goes there and handles these edge rushers from these Power Four conferences, treat him like you would treat every other offensive tackle at every other conference because it's right there in the put.
Yeah.
He put that on tape versus the FCS opponents for years.
That's my biggest frustration. If you take the William and Mary logo off and put a Alabama or A&M or USC logo, I don't even know if we're having a discussion about fourth round here.
We're not. We're talking
Probably
top
day
five.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, it would be different. Now, this guy, I had him at 4 on my list. You got him at 3. And as a guy who I'll say this because of where he played, he kind of got overlooked in this process, I think, by average fans. And that's
Mhm.
Elijah Ponder, Cal Poly, going to be at the Shrine Bowl. I know you love your edge rushers, man. And I think this guy, in terms of all the tools in his toolbox, is one
Mhm.
of the more intriguing prospects to look at.
Yeah, man. Like so, him and David. When I was first watching, they're like very good at what they do, but they're not similar. I don't know how to. David's more the explosive kind of
Yeah.
like I'm going to run through your chest and just if you're not able to take this on by second, third quarter, you're going to tap out. Elijah's more like he'll jab you. He just keep jabbing you, jab, and then he out of nowhere he'll come with this upper hook out of nowhere. So like he's
He's a
more like
finesse guy.
yeah,
He's got that finesse to his game.
you know what I mean? But I like it though, because it's like, and I've seen him drop in coverage.
Yeah.
He has a functional bend. He has good play strength. He's versatile. I feel like you could line him up wherever you want. I think he could probably translate more to a 3-4 outside linebacker better than David could. I think David truly would be more. If David was a little taller, he's a true 4-3 guy. But I think with Elijah could stand up. Elijah can't put his hand in the dirt. Actually, I'll read something off his report. Let's see. We got shows above average lateral quickness, change direction, short air burst with good closing speed, flexibility to bend around the corner. And the only thing I have knocked on him right here, like he may have some like bad eyes on perimeter runs, but outside of that, man, the hand usage is good. As a pass rusher, he lines multiple ways, good get off, quick inside counter move. I like the kid, man. He wrote. I mean, he kind of like you said. A lot of people don't really know about Elijah Ponder where he plays, but if you just say, "Let me just check this guy out," I urge everybody just check Elijah out and just give him a shot and just say, you know what, he can play on the next level. Definitely with his
Yeah.
traits, he has good trait. Now I want to see how he'll test. I'm not really sure because like when you look at David, like David's going to be like a under 1.7 10-yard split guy. I'm
Yeah.
not sure about Elijah just yet, but I'm definitely intrigued to see how that goes with Elijah Ponder.
The funny part is if you combine Ponder and Walker's game, they'd be like a top 5
Oh
prospect
yeah, yeah.
with
Oh my
Ponder's
God.
length. Because like
Yes.
that's where David's lacking is like if he had Ponder's build in terms of height and length,
Yeah.
God, man, he would be unstoppable. And and also too, I think Ponder has a better. I think when I look at his way he's going to fit the next level, I see him being more of a stand-up guy than David. I think you can get David down inside a bit, get his
Mhm,
hand in the dirt because he's
mhm.
just that stockier, like you said, more explosive, and he's just. I think Ponder has the longer frame, but
Yeah.
Walker is way more just like I don't know how to like just
Brute.
stout, right?
He's a brute. Yeah, he's a brute.
Yeah, and so I will say, like, I do think Ponder's gonna excel really, really well at the Shrine Bowl. And another guy who I think he might see, and this is the guy who I had over Ponder just slightly, they're kind of like 3A, 3B for me, is Marcus Weir,
Yeah.
Montana State, another guy going to the Shrine Bowl. And I'll say this, I think this guy has the potential to be the Mason McCormick of the
Mhm.
Shrine Bowl. I really like this guy. I've been really high on him for 2 years. And I think this is a guy, if he goes to the right system, and with the right development, right coaching, like because listen, Mason went to the best. Like, bro, you go to the Steelers
Yeah, you
under
good.
Tomlin, you're gonna be fine. Is
Yeah.
if Weir goes to the right team, this is a guy who I think could start 5 plus, 10 plus years in the NFL, in my opinion.
Yeah, man. I mean, with Weird, man, I mean, the lateral movement skills were, for me as a guard, I love to see guards that know how to reach a three tech. It's just one of those things that people don't really think about and how important that could be, but just be able to reach that three tech so that tackle could get to the next level. You know what I mean? That's huge because you want to be able to seal off those tackles. So one thing I liked about him, the physicality in the zone. Look, when you think about sometimes you hear like a zone blocking offensive lineman. And sometimes people think, "Oh, you're not a gap guy, so you must not be tough." No, not him. No, he's a strong, physical zone blocking guard. I love the height is there. He might be a little undersized with his weight, but the width and the body composition is good. So and he has a well developed lower half. So yeah, that means what? Strength. He's strong with his lower body. The leg drive is there. The independent hand usage is there, and he has a finishing ability. So like that, and on top of that, when he's in pass protection, his initial punch and his strong hands, guys really don't make it past the punch. And now if they do, he does have some, recovery things that he could work on. I would say his recovery and pass protection a little bit average, but that could be fixed. The initial punch, the initial jolt and shock he gives guys when he punches them in pass protection from the interior, you want that because listen, what do quarterbacks hate? They hate pressure up the middle. They
Yep.
hate they hate it. And you know what? If people are concerned with maybe his height or length anyway, I wouldn't be shocked if you kick him to center because I saw they did it with Mason McCormick. I
Yeah.
mean, I wouldn't though. So when you make that might be a really. I mean, I don't think he's as big as he is. I don't think he was as big as Mason. I got to look and make sure. But
Yeah,
if
I don't. I try to think what because I want to say they're built pretty
they are built similar,
similarly. If I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to pull up Mason's measurables now because they got
yeah.
Mason at 6'5", 315.
So that's only this. So Mason was a little bigger, just a little bigger.
Yeah.
But I could see the trajectory of like, okay, hey, listen, if you're concerned with any length concern, have any length concern, all right, kick him to center because he has the anchor and he can move. So that's what you want from your center. You want a center that can move laterally and can hold his own against like a zero tech or a one tech.
The biggest thing for his development, I think, is if you remember, they were playing him at tackle just due to injury, right? What was it last or 2 years ago?
But
Them recruiting Connor Moore and Titan at tackle and being able to move Marcus back to guard was the
mm,
best thing for his draft stock. Because I think if he was playing tackle, he'd be just like every other FCS guy that would have to move back inside, and then there'd be questions. The fact that he got to put a full 16 games on film at
yes.
right guard, still an
Mhm.
All American, still great in the run game. And also, too, with the weight, I do think he can play a little heavier. But that
Right.
scheme Montana State runs, they like their offensive linemen to be a little bit lighter
Okay.
just for all the different concepts they do out in space, and they want their guys to be super athletic, which is fine. So, like you said, if he can get to the Shrine Bowl, put on a little bit of weight, show that he can do it at at that weight, I think that
Mhm.
would do him wonders. I do wonder, and this is my biggest question. I'm gonna toss it to you for him at the Shrine Bowl, him in the one-on-ones and just for the pass blocking is gonna be huge because I do wonder how he's gonna do against some of those high level speed rushers.
Yeah, it's the recovery thing, man. I mean, like I said, when if he could get his hands on you early, great. But if a defender's able to time it up, then it's like, okay, we need to see if you're able to recover. So granted, the Shrine does have a good setup. I mean, they do. This is probably, I work with Shrine. This is probably the best roster I've seen on Shrine in a while. The interior D line, he's gonna get all different types of body type. He's gonna get really big guys or more power guys. He's gonna get some smaller guys a little quicker. He's gonna be able to get a taste of different. So I think he will, for the most part, he will hold up well. Like I said, he is a violent guy with his hands. He is a good anchor. If he can get you early, he will be fine. And end of the day, I will hope they'll show the versatility for him to be like, okay, let's try and kick you at center a couple times, just like they did
Yeah.
with Mason last year.
Yeah, because Mason did it. I want to say Cody Mock 2 years ago at the
Mhm.
Senior Bowl played a little bit of center. It
Yeah.
took him some time, and I
Mhm.
mean, I think it is important that Weir already has that versatility. We know he can play tackle if
Yeah.
needed. We know
Mhm.
he can play both guard spots. I think
Mhm.
center is the only position he hasn't played, so I'll be interesting. Now, moving to this guy at 5, man, and I think to me, he's the biggest question mark just
Mhm.
because of the injuries and some of the schematic ways that Delaware used him, and that's Marcus Yarns.
Yeah.
And I was talking to someone about this on another show. They brought me on to talk FCS guys. If there's going to be another guy like Dylan Lobby in
Mhm.
this year's draft class, it's Marcus Yarns because he's has that versatility. But I'll say this: I don't think, and maybe he can prove me wrong. I
Mhm.
don't know if he's as good of an athlete as Dylan was coming out.
Dylan did so much. It's kind of that's a bar that a lot of
Yeah,
people can't.
it's high, right? Especially as a wide receiver, right? I don't think Yarns has the ability to go out and play the slot like Dylan does.
Right. I think for Yarns, anything out of the backfield, option routes, swing routes, he's gonna cook up most linebackers, and he might cook up your occasional safety. But I won't lie to you. I like him as a runner. I like it. The vision is there. He has a nasty dead leg. He has a nasty dead leg when he's running.
He pulls it out all the time. He's
Every
scored
time.
on multiple plays. Like if he gets the angle on you in the red zone,
Yes.
he's pulling out the dead leg. You know it's coming, and you can't do
It's
nothing.
it's beautiful too. I mean, because like he's not tall. I don't think he's crazy tall, but he kind of
No.
runs a little bit upright. But then when he gets to that dead leg, he's able to sink into his frame and go the opposite way. I think his change direction is fine. I like his patience in zone
Yeah.
scheme. He presses very well, and he gets pulled through the line of scrimmage. I'm actually intrigued to see. I think he might be a sub 4.5 guy.
Okay.
I want to see the injuries, really took a hit towards his linear speed, top end
Yeah.
speed, but I'm not sure if he got invited to the NFL Combine yet or not. But if he did, which I'm sure he did, because he's a top FCS guy, I would love to see how he runs. I think we're talking if he's in that 4.48, 4.46 range, then we're talking about a guy that's going to get picked up. I have him around that fourth, fifth round. I mean, let's be real here. This is the deepest running back class I think I've seen in a long time.
It's
Um,
insane.
yeah, it's insane. So I mean, for them to they don't have to quote unquote reach for an FCS guy, but I put his tape against a lot of guys in the Power Four conferences, and he doesn't look that much different. But they always want to. Well, I don't say it, but this strength competition.
Yeah, you know how it is.
Yeah, I get it, but end of the day, the kid has everything. Which the only thing I knock on him is that pass blocking. The pass blocking is.
Yeah, I don't know if it's there.
It's just not. That's a knock. Like okay, because I know Senior Bowl for sure. I remember when Aubrey Miller was there and he went up against who'd he go against a kid from Tulane and he
Yeah,
just
Spears, yeah,
yeah
Tajay.
he just and so now it's funny
I was about to say that's his pro comp, right? For you,
that is
it's
my
Tajay.
the dead leg and the quickness is just like oh yeah that's him. So I would like to see how he holds up against these linebackers he's gonna be playing against, because they have some big boys, and they're gonna do that blitz pickup circuit. So I just would, what's crazy? I actually saw they have David Walker as a linebacker for on senior. So
I hope he's not in that drill. Bro, okay, so I hope he's not in the pass coverage drill, because can you imagine David trying to cover yards in open space? But then
No,
on the flip side, can you imagine David getting a running start at a running back in a pass rush drill?
I don't want that for him. I don't. I'm. You know what? You gotta keep me updated on that. I would love to see
Oh
it,
yeah,
because David Walker at linebacker. I want to see it. But anywho,
because
yes,
Isaiah Land was a linebacker, but he wasn't in those two drills.
correct. So we'll see. I'm intrigued though. But yeah, I do like Yarns. I think he's a pure zone scheme running back. And I just think the only thing he needs to work on is the pass blocking. The pass block is gonna be key, because like, okay, you're a little smaller. I think they have you about 5'11", 6 foot, about 185 pounds. If we can't have you on third down because you can't pass block, are you going to be a true 3-down guy for us? Or are you just going to be, now with the new kick return rules, I would like to see him on that most
Yes.
definitely. So that might be his calling card.
I agree. And I will say, even though he might get called up, because remember, Tajay got, like you said, got pancaked by Aubrey, just taken on a ride. Do you remember what he did to that kid in the like route running drill, where he like dropped down underneath them and like hit? I mean, dude, and just took, like, I mean, it was insane. I think I posted the highlight on our YouTube channel. Like, it was the most insane route of all time. Like, disappear for a second. That's
Looking
good.
so
Yards is going to do that to somebody.
He is, because he's quick out of the backfield. Yeah, if they line up, if he could line up in the slot and do something, I would be like, whoa. You know what I mean? So I'm not
That
opposed.
changes the conversation if you offer that sort of versatility. That's why Lobby was so highly valued. Is that I mean, man, Joe, they had him out at the X at practice running routes against DBs, and he was winning.
Yeah, they were just
That,
playing.
but to move on to this, this is your guy. I mean, man, you
Yeah.
drove the hype bus for this guy. Listen, I think he lived up to it this year, especially toward the end of the year, man. When Jackson finally put him in the position you said he should play, everyone found out how good Robert McDaniel is. And I mean, listen, man, I mean, you said he had to bring it this year. There was a lot of questions about just why you had him so high. And man, 3 picks this year, 10 tackles for loss, what, 4.5 sacks this year. So, man, hey, you were right. Talk a bit about Robert McDaniel, man.
Man, God, I feel like I talk about this kid so much. People, yes, Rob did everything I needed him to do for himself. One, because the thing about Rob, he is a football player. I can't really give him. I could give him a position. Yeah, I could say he's a strong safety. I could say he's a big nickel. Yeah, he could be a huge cornerback. But he's a football player. As you can see, towards the end, Jackson's like, okay, this is where their strength is. We need to put you near where their strength is. I need you to take over the game. And guess what? It helped them get a Celebration Bowl championship. So the thing about Rob, I mean, and I've seen Rob, and we were just talking about, how do I put this the right way? I've seen Rob go up. There's a guy that's in the senior that's going to the Senior Bowl, and I saw Rob as a defensive back set the edge against him. That says a lot to me. I've seen Rob beat up tight ends. I've seen Rob beat up offensive tackles the past 2 years I've been scouting him. The kid is quick. Now, the only thing I will say about Rob, his aggression could be his downfall at times in coverage. That's why I want him closer to the line of scrimmage. That's why I want him to go against bigger tight ends, because he could get a little physical with them. He's short. He has a short area quickness. Now, linear speed, if he's a 4.5 guy, he may get pushed towards that back end 7th round, 6th round, maybe. If he tests really well, which I feel like he will, I think, because the team, as you can see, the tweeners are in. People love tweeners. People love guys that can play safety, linebacker, nickel. If you could do all 3 of those effective, you are a guy that they want to have in the NFL right now, because that's just it's a sub package league, and it's like, okay, we really don't want to have a true 4-3 on the field or true 3-4. So can we have that safety that's a little big that could kind of like remember Deontay Buchanan that played for the kind of like that. He was way ahead of his time. He right now probably be one of the best players in the NFL. But hey, the error, this wasn't for him. But with Rob at 6'2", 215 pounds. Me and you saw him in person. I mean, he's a well put together kid. So
Yeah.
Yes, I was on the Rob McDaniel hype train, and I'm not gonna get off the hype train because it seems like every year I have like a guy, and he's like he's a guy. Like he's a guy that did everything that he needed to do to put himself in position to at least be talked about in this realm.
I think okay, so there's another guy who I'm more disappointed that didn't get an invite, and we'll get to him. But I think he out of all the FCS guys, I could name about 5 who I'm extremely disappointed didn't get an invite. Number one's Elijah Williams.
Yeah,
and we'll talk about him. Number 2 is Lan Larison,
yep.
and then number 3 is Rob McDaniel.
Yeah, man.
The fact that those 3 guys aren't playing in any All-Star game, or okay, my bad, not any, because they're all playing in an All-Star game, but one of the top 2.
Yeah.
The fact that they're not going to Dallas or Mobile is unbelievable to me. Because to me, especially those first 2, right? Because Rob was kind of a late bloomer, more so. So maybe he slipped through the cracks. I can understand that because it happens all the time, even at the P4 level.
Yes.
But Lan Larison and Elijah Williams are consensus All-Americans in multiple different years and check all the boxes you would want for guys who should be at one of these games and aren't there. And so we'll leave it there.
Yeah,
but I do think, listen, I'll say this, and we're going to talk the same thing about Elijah. There's guys who go to the Legacy Bowl who clearly don't belong at the Legacy Bowl. Someone's going to have a really, really bad week going up against Rob McDaniel. I'm just going to put it like that. And you know exactly what I mean, because me and you are one of the 2 few people that have been to every Legacy Bowl, right? There's not many people that can say that. Yeah. Someone's going to have a really bad day when they see 3 across from them.
Yeah, it's going to be a one-on-one, and he's going to press somebody into the dirt. And Lord and behold, 11 on 11s, he's going to destroy people. And that's fine. You know what? And you know what? Yeah. You know what this means? The more people that aren't in the hula, the shrine, and the Senior Bowl only helps the Legacy Bowl as well. So we actually make our best guys in the game. So it's a blessing in a sense. You got to find a blessing in it all. And them kids are going to show up regardless because they're football players.
That's a fact. Now, to get to our most polarizing guy, I think, because we've been kind of up and down on him. I think I had him one spot ahead, just based off of, and I'll say this, Zabel almost reminds me of Penning to a point where I think the upside is there, right? Like you can see it like flashes of, man, that kid's going to be a problem in the league.
Right.
But then even in the national championship, you saw that aggression, 15-yard penalty on sportsmanlike conduct. And what happened with Penning? Couldn't stay out of his out here hurting teammates in practice and going crazy and never panned out. One of my biggest scouting misses, and just me personally, because me and you even went back and forth on him. But I do think, I'll say this, I think the upside with Zabel might even be higher than Penning, just because I don't see as many red flags. Going back and looking at Penning, I've overlooked so many red flags. I don't know if there's as many red flags with Zabel.
No, I think Zabel's a way better athlete, and I think Zabel is more versatile. I'm shocked they haven't tried to kick Penning into guard full time. I don't know why they wouldn't at least try it. Like we saw Makai. You see what Makai Becton's doing.
Yes.
And I was big on I don't need a tall guard. Listen, man, I see the vision for the NFL moving forward. These guards are going to get really tall. So Gray, like Zabel, he fits right into the new age guard we're trying to work into. So I could see like a team saying like, okay, like even with Grant, like, okay, we could get him about 310. Let's kick him inside. I could see it. So with Zabel, man, it's just like he's a tough, physical. He's at tackle. He was tough. He's physical. He's aggressive. And he has versatility to block in his gap scheme or zone scheme. So I just think with him, man, it's just the pass blocking on the edge. So I think my issue with him was I was grading him he was at tackle, and I'm grading him like a tackle. So that made it really like I'm trying to grade him as a guard. A lot of things that he would struggle at tackle, he's not going to struggle with at guard because he's so long, he's so athletic. So I could see him being in like a scheme similar to the Eagles where you utilize their length and athleticism to move laterally with some, here and there gap scheme stuff. But I just think, biggest thing with him, he could be a little bit of a leaner. He could be a leaner, and that could, cause him to getting, shedded by blockers. But he can pull. He's efficient with his pulling path. He doesn't waste too many steps. He's violent, like I said. The hand usage is there. I think his ceiling is very high. I know we have him. I have him at 7. I think you had him at 6 or 7 or something
Yeah.
like that. So, and I know when I so like I will tell you, I'm new to the whole FCS space. I used to really just do HBCU FCS, but and I finally got caught my first North Dakota State fan. So that was it's like
Yeah, or there were some that were upset. I'll give you that, because also too, and we know this in every space, right? Everyone's gonna root for their guy. Like, I mean, bro, you remember there were
yeah
people saying James Houston had to be a first round pick, and that you were a hater if you didn't think James Houston was a top 20 player. And it was like, let's calm down just a little bit. Like
level.
just a tad bit, right? Saying he's better than Aiden Hutchinson was a little bit of a stretch for some fans. I
Yeah,
mean,
I can't do that.
and I'll say this, like, I think Zabel's one of those prospects. Like, I'm trying to think, like, who was it? Like Spencer Brown,
Mm-hmm.
almost, where like one of those guys who, and also I think here's just where Zabel differs from like Malk, in my opinion. Zabel was more of like a late bloomer for a North Dakota State offensive lineman, right? Like when you look at guys like Malk, they
Yeah.
emerged so early, right? And they started, and then you look at like guys like McCormick, that these Dakota guys. McCormick started like 62 games
Yeah, that's
in
crazy.
his career. Like Zabel was a backup for what, the first 3
Yeah.
of
I
his
mean,
career. And I'll
yeah.
say this, going back, because I was like you, I watched this year's film, right? And just recently I went back and watched this film from a year ago when he played guard.
Mm-hmm.
I think he would probably be firmly in my top 5 prospects if he was solely a guard. I don't
Yeah.
know if his tackle film was as good as his guard film.
No, not even close. So yeah, I'm not. So that's why I'm like, okay, like when he goes to, when he goes to his bowl game, where are they going to put him? Because that will be everything to me.
Yeah.
If they put him on the inside, I think he's going to do well. And I just think he's a competitor. He's physical. So it's like, okay, at least I know he's going to compete. I
Yeah.
don't want to see him getting driven back or nothing like that. But I don't think he will. I just think if you put him on at tackle, that's going to do him a disservice for his stock. So it's really depending on how they or where they slate him at for me.
For you, it's just how I feel about him. I think he's a day 2 guard, day 3 tackle.
That is very fair. I'm not even going to debate that. That is very fair. I think I'll probably lean towards that as well. He's definitely higher as a guard than the tackle, without a doubt.
Now, a guy who is obviously an interior guy, another FCS guy, Jackson Slater,
Mm-hmm.
Sacramento State. I think it's a guy. I'll say this. He was a guy who I didn't think would be super high in this process because he would get overlooked, but a guy who has had a lot of hype recently out of nowhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
And unanimous consensus All American, started a million games, it feels like, at Sac State.
Yeah.
Your thoughts here, man? Because I feel like he almost fell into like this next segment of just sleepers that no one's really talking about.
I think people like the upside with Jackson. He's firm. He has good. He plays with good balance, and he had like once. I love the efficiency as a puller. Like it's like a guy that knows how he gets a feel for like where like when he's pulling, he has a feel for where he needs to go to be able to firmly kick somebody out or set the edge. And I think he shows that very well. His technique when he's blocking laterally is very good. I think what I have here. Quick first step and firm at the point of attack. Plays a good pad level when run blocking. Though he has some stiffness there when he redirects, when he tries to recover. Hand placement could be inconsistent at time, but he has strong grip strength and he can maintain control once he does. He's explosive at the point of attack, takes proper angles when pulling, creates alleys for ball carriers with his up because he has a wide upper body. At least it looks like on tape he has a very wide upper body. He's not like a reach. He's not really going to reach and cut off defenders too often. But I think for him, he's a true gap man blocking scheme. Like you let him pull, let him let him do his combo blocks. I would say I'm trying to think of a scheme, a team that will like utilize him. Oh man, I'm trying to think. I can't think off the top of my head, but I just know if he goes to a situation where he is able to just utilize his ability to pull and utilize his ability to just be stern and firm at the point of attack consistently, that'll be his calling card. And his grip strength helps him in pass protection. Where for what he lacks in lateral movement ability, that may be the issue with him. Like, how athletic is he? So I would like to see if he gets an invite to the NFL Combine or not. Now, granted, I will make sure I put this out here. I don't care to see offensive linemen run 40 yards, and I will stand on that.
I don't either.
I just don't. I don't care. Now, granted, did I love seeing Lane Johnson do that? Oh, for sure. Did I love seeing Tyron Smith do that? Oh, I mean, Teron Armstead do it? For sure. Tyron Smith, we all love to see it. But how often are they doing that? So,
never.
Like with Jackson, show me how he moves. I want to see the short area stuff. The drills are way more important. And, as a puller, okay, I would like to see your 10-yard split.
That's the only thing I'll look at for it. When I evaluate O linemen and I'm looking at combine stats, I don't care what you ran in the 40. I don't even want to look at it. But what were those first 10 yards like?
Yep. And I think he'll do that very well. Now, anything lateral movement, I'll have to see. But I know for sure, once he gets his shoulders straight and he gets shoulders square, he will be fine in the open field because he's a really good puller. So I do like him. I think he's another upsidey guy, but I would like to see how he tests to really get an idea what his upside truly will be.
I also think he's going to be sneaky in the bench press too.
Oh, now you got me thinking out of this list so far. Who's gonna? Yeah, he's probably gonna. Yeah,
because I don't think he has like insanely long arms. Like I don't think he's going to be a top percentile. He'll be in the middle. Yeah. So the arm length is going to be working for him. And what he's 316, 315-ish, 6'4", 6'5", and interior guy. Like I think he's going to kill the bench press in terms of offensive line. I think Weir's going to kill it.
Oh, what you think Walker? I feel like Walker's one of those like crazy clean guys. Like he was like a 350 cleaner. I don't know if he's like a bench guy, but he for sure can clean.
I think Walker's going to be in the middle. I don't know if Grant's going to do amazing. I just think Grant's arms are way too long. Same for Ponder.
Yeah, it'd be like that. It's like that because even with Aneem Donko last year, I think he didn't put 30, but it's like he has 80 with an 85-inch wing or something like 84. Yeah. It's hard.
Depending on how he tests, though, I think Slater I think he's built very similar to Mason. We talked about it a little bit earlier with Weir. Slater's built way more like Mason. So if he goes out there and performs because remember, Mason killed the combine.
Yes, he did.
All the short, the agility stuff, short distance, killed the. I want to say he did pretty well on the bench press too. So I think Mason, Jackson, has that ability to have that Mason ascendant, I guess ascendance would be the word, or jump in the draft process. I think Slater is, like you said, has that upside. Like I really do.
They have Slater at 6'0", 3'0", 313. So
that a little shorter than Mason, but about the same weight.
Yeah, I'll take a true 6'3" is tall to me. I don't care what nobody says. Yeah, so
especially interior, right? Like tackle, obviously you don't want to say, but like interior guy, 6'3" is fine with me.
Yeah, I agree.
Now the last two guys that I know number 10 should be like number 2, but we'll talk about that in a second. James Burgess, though, we'll start with him. Alabama State corner. Yeah. Listen, man, I mean, I don't know where Bama State keeps finding these 6'2" corners at, 6'3" corners at, but listen, gatekeep it as long as you can, I guess. But I thought Burgess had a really good year this year, man. I was a little skeptical, right, when I started hearing. I think he had all the physical tools, like everything in the toolbox was there, but I needed to see it on the field. I mean, I think he did that. I really do. It was a talented Bama State defense, and it was clear. I think he was the best player on that defense.
Yeah, man. I mean, so James Williams, the cornerback coach at Alabama State, that's now at Kennesaw State. Me and him, that's like my mentor. So one thing he told me about the past 3 years, the guy has Keenan Isaac, Mikey Victor, and James Burgess. Now, from an FCS standpoint, that's pretty good to have those 3 back to back to back.
Yes.
And all legit guys that are going to be in someone's camp. Burgess is going to be in someone's camp. So that's his bare minimum. He will be in someone's camp doing what he does best. And what is that? He is big and he is a violent guy. He's very violent in that press man. The only issue I had with him is his off coverage with his footwork and the fluidity stuff. But if you want a guy that's going to be a physical run defender, which he is, and I was also told that he could play safety, and I can see, and that's similar to like another guy we'll probably bring up later on. But like these big corners that can fit up against the run, that can read to make quarterbacks get off that first read because they have completely disrupted timing, and they could come in and fill. I like him. I think he would be more of a zone heavy scheme, primarily. Maybe a quarter scheme. I mean, everybody runs quarters now for the most part. Anyway, it's just a quarter matchup zone stuff. That's what they do anyway. But if you have him just sitting in the cover two, the shallow zone with his length, he'll be fine. If you want him in deep zone coverage, fine. Man coverage is not a bad option either because he'll be able to disrupt timing. But we all know those tall corners, their issues is always lateral movement instead of linear movement.
Yeah.
For him, man, I think he did everything he was supposed to do. The footwork is there, the tackling is there, the physicality is there. So I think you just don't, when you have someone 6'2", 6'3", 200-pound at corner, you bring him in. You just see if it works. So like he's a stealer to me. Like he's like a stealer kind of corner. Those long, physical, beat you up kind of guys. So I'm intrigued to see how it works. I really am. I'm looking. I mean, he's another one that didn't. He got Hula Bowl. I heard he did very well.
Yeah.
My boy Emery Hunt told me he did very well. And so now HBCU Combine Legacy Bowl is up for him. So I want to see how it goes.
What does he need to run in the 40? Because obviously Mikey last year was kind of in a similar spot. Didn't run the best 40. It kind of hurt him.
Yeah.
What does James need to run to really be on the radar?
4.5. 4.5, and we're talking day 3. But if anything under 4.5 or higher than 4.5, then it's going to be another situation where it's like, okay, he's definitely a PFA. Like they're going to PFA him off the rip if he just runs a 4.6. But if he gets that in that mid 4.5 ish,
is he faster than Mikey in your opinion? Just straight line speed?
Yes. Mikey is a back 20 guy, not a front 20 guy. So like Mikey's top end. That's why he didn't really get beat deep much. But with Burgess, I think Burgess couldn't do the turn and run out of press and be able to stay in phase with guys more. And Coach Williams said that this is his best guy. So Burgess is pretty much a combination and thinking that he's a combo of Keenan Isaac and Mikey put together. That's how
fair. I like that.
That's how it was described to me. So if that's the case, I'm thinking this guy has to be the one that actually, I mean, granted, Keenan Isaac's been on the roster the past 3 years, but I think Burgess might be the one to really, make Coach Williams look like a real godsend in the HBCU space with all these 6'3" pterodactyls he keep pumping out of corner.
And now he's at the FBS level, so and pray for that conference because he's going to have 6'3" corners and safeties running around everywhere up there. Now, in my opinion, man, we saved one of the best for last here. I mean, listen, and I had a conversation with our guy Josh Sims from HBCU Nightly the other day, and we had a passionate, like, not arguing with each other, just venting to each other about this guy. If you want to talk about someone who checked all the boxes and it still didn't work out, is this guy. Because I'll say this, I don't know if there's listen, we just talked about 9 guys who are probably going to be either drafted or I would just say priority free agents and will probably be on a roster next year, right? All 9 of them. This guy still might have the best tape of any of them. And we're talking here at 10. Man, listen, this is where you coach. You got to see this guy every single day in person, man. And I'm telling you, I'm rooting for this guy because if there's a guy who will be signed as a priority free agent that will make a roster and play next year, it might be him.
I watched him in practice.
And we're talking about Elijah Williams, by the way, for people.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Know. So Elijah Williams, and yes, I work in Morgan State, but Zach even knows I've been scouting Elijah since his freshman year. The kid has been like the worst he was good. On the FCS. You don't, and so even Zach would tell you, and everybody knows, the FCS has some dudes from 2021 to now. Elijah, for the most part, outside his freshman year, even with that, he was in the conversation as a top D lineman with all the FCS guys that came through here. I mean, how do I even put this, man? The knock on Elijah are things that may be out of his control. Yes, they talking about. I've heard arm length may be an issue. I heard explosive may be an issue. I would like for everybody that's scouting Elijah to interview every offensive lineman in the MEAC, the top guys, from the past, from 21 to now. And that goes for Torrey Simpkins. That goes for Rob Smith. That goes for Corey Bullock. That goes for Neem Donkwa. That goes for Demetrius Weatherspoon, who is currently at Syracuse. I would like for people, I would like people to pull up the tape versus Yale against a day 2 pick. Elijah did everything he was supposed to do as an FCS guy. He stayed true to it. He didn't leave. And Lord knows I work at Morgan, and he could have left if he wanted to, but he did not. He stayed. He dominated for 3 years. You could argue 4. He dominated for 3 or 4 years. Even with that, the kid has an anchor. He's versatile. He's played the 5, the 4-eye, the 3, the 1, the 0. It was a game versus Central in 2020. It was at 23 where they needed him at the 0. And guess who he went against? He went against a guy that just started 12 games in the SEC at guard, Torrey Simpkins. Yep. And I would urge y'all to watch the game. That's what I'm gonna say. Watch the game.
And he might be drafted. Like Simpkins is probably going to get drafted. I would say he's probably going to get drafted.
Listen, Demetrius Weatherspoon going to get drafted. He's at Syracuse. He's going to get drafted probably next year too. Neem Donkwa is currently on the NFL roster. Corey Bullock is on the practice squad with the Ravens. Torrey Simpson is probably going to be a day 3 guy. He played well versus all. And let me not even get into the games versus Georgia Southern,
Ohio.
Let's not get into those games. I mean, God forbid. I watch Elijah keep us in games. And I don't want to sound like the biased Morgan State guy because I've been talking about him before then. But even Zach, thank you, Zach, for being here too to help me out with this one because there's nothing. Now you can say, okay, he's a tweener. What's he really going to play? He's once again, he's a football player. So similar to Rob, he's a football player. He's 6'2", 290 pounds. I see him all the time in the weight room. He's strong. He has good flexibility. Now, he can always work on it. He does have a kind of a stiff back, whatever. He might not be explosive, but he might not be as explosive as like the other undersized, quote-unquote, interior defensive lineman. But he's setting the point on the edge, and he's holding up against the runner along the interior. So, regardless, and I told him, regardless if you get an invite to the bigger all-star games, my man, we already know what you're going to do at Legacy Bowl. Me and Zach talk about it.
Listen, they need to go ahead and just have police officers at the one-on-ones to take him off the field after bro, we saw Jason Dumas and Nelson Jordan combined for I think like 15 sacks 2 years ago. Elijah Williams might have 15 by himself. Gerald, there's not an offensive lineman at the Legacy Bowl that can block him. And no offense, shout out to my guys. Listen, I love Evan Henry. I love my guy Kirk Ford. Bro, please just stay away from 0. And God forbid they put them inside. If they put them on some of these centers that are going, it's going to be a bloodbath in was it Yukon Stadium or whatever it's called.
I think they should. You know what? I said they should. You know what they should just put them everywhere. It's like I think, but knowing him, Elijah he loves football. Like it's one of those things that come to him easily. Not saying he doesn't work hard, because he does. But like you could just tell some guys are just football players, and like he just straps it up. He don't wear gloves. He just takes his hands.
No swag. Just
play football, and that's why he's gonna be fine. Out of everybody on this list, I'm not worried about him. Out of everybody, I'm not worried about him because 1, I've seen it, and 2, I think he's up there. When you talk about consistency, you might want to put maybe him, Grant, Walker, with a consistency over the past 3 years. Is there anybody
Silver?
Else? Yeah, just like guys of the past 4 or 5, like 3 years, I just say, okay, he's been the best guy on the field for the most part for the past 3 years. So he'll be fine. I'm not really worried about it.
He's the type of guy who, even if he doesn't get drafted, he's going to be Marquise Bell, where as soon as Marquise Bell signed the contract, me, you, Marquise, the Cowboy, everyone knew he was going to be on the roster.
Yes, easily. Yeah.
He is going to be fine. And I'll say this for people who haven't watched Morgan, because I get it. Listen, we're an F. It we get it. A lot of people who watch these shows that you watch your team and your conference. So if you're a Valley fan watching this, or a Big Sky fan, or a SWAC fan, listen. The Richmond film from last year,
Oh,
the UAlbany film from 2023.
oh God.
What is it? I think 2022 might have been his best year. You need to man, go watch the North Carolina Central film from 2022.
Oh God.
I mean, you know what I'm talking about. In 2022, Davius is still having nightmares about zero
Oh my God.
coming off the edge. And then this year, the Ohio film and I think the Central film again were probably two of his best games. And then also South Carolina State too. He had a really good game against them.
In Towson, he had like 2 sacks. He almost won us the game.
Yeah.
It's just
So and I'll say this: you're anyone who's going to the Legacy Bowl, when he makes the plays he's going to make, don't ask who it is because he doesn't belong there. Like he's going to be the guy who doesn't belong on. Like I don't know why he's going. He should be playing in the Senior Bowl next week. I'm telling you, listen, I've missed on some. Me and you always joke about our biggest misses scouting.
yeah.
If Elijah doesn't make a roster, he surpasses Trevor Penning as my worst scouting miss because there's no way.
Yeah,
I would bet everything.
Yeah, I'll take it. We'll be watching him in September playing football somewhere. And even if he's on a practice squad, like I just you know what, we have more to do. I'm not
If he winds up at the UFL, he's going to win an MVP.
or
He's going to win a
CFL.
Defensive Player of the Year in the CFL or UFL somewhere. Arena
Fine.
League, like it doesn't matter. He's going to be, like you said, he's going to be playing now. You know, a little long here, man, but I want to get to this. Some potential late round sleepers, man. It can be 2-3 guys who we haven't talked about. They could be going to All-Star games. They couldn't, but just have the physical tools, right? Like I'm thinking about who's the kid. Oh man, I had his name. I was thinking about he's the like third string quarterback for the Chiefs right now. I want to say kid out of South Dakota State, came out of Sanford.
Oh man, I forgot his. I know you're talking about.
Oh, Ola Duncan.
Yeah,
Someone like that who could just pop up in the late rounds. The kid from UT Martin last year, wide receiver, just came off the board unexpectedly. So, who are some late round guys that could sneak in there, man? That's got the physical tools.
Man, this is a guy like last year. Me, you talked about. I hope I'm not saying his name wrong. Isis Waxter. I hope that's
Ice. Yeah, I think it's Ice Waxter. I think it just goes by Ice.
Okay, Ice Waxter. Okay,
Love him.
corner. He's at corner. Outside of James Burgess, this might be the most physical corner I've ever watched. And like he's a load. He's huge. I think he's like 6'2", 200, almost 220 pounds, or maybe 220.
And his arms are ridiculous. Like, bro, he might not even be pressing you and hit you at the line of scrimmage.
Oh, he's so violent. He's so violent. Press man is his thing. Outstanding height, outstanding weight, outstanding length. He's muscular. The weight is well distributed throughout his body. Physical and press coverage. Let's see what I have here. He has some stiffness in his transitions to mirror, but man, he could be a little grabby too. But man, once he puts his hands on you, the chances are the route is over. If he doesn't put his hands on you, then you might have a shot. But if he puts his hands on you, it might be over. But this is why he's another one where I think he could go to safety because he's so physical and he's so instinctive against like route combinations on like on a perimeter and like the short area. Like any type of screen goes his way, he's destroying the screen. He sees it from a mile away, and there aren't many receivers that can block him. He's just too big at the corner. So if you want to have him maybe as a sub package guy, I don't see why not. He has stop. You know how good it is to see a corner that has stopping power, like a guy when he hits you, you don't go forward. There are linebackers that I've scouted that don't have that. So this guy's at corner and he's stopping running backs, tight ends, receivers in their tracks when he hits them. So I'm high on him as someone that I think if he tests well, he's going to get brought. He'll be at the Shrine Bowl. He'll be brought in day 3. I got to put it. Kendall Bowler is a guy that me and you both know very well. I think he's so athletic. It's like, man, how do we not bring that in? No, maybe a day 3. He did well the whole Bowl as well.
He's going to remind me. Okay, I want to say the kid's name is Cedric. It was the kid from Grambling last year at the Legacy Bowl.
Cedric Anderson.
Yeah, that just didn't look like he belonged.
Yeah,
just in terms of like physical, that's going to be Kendall Bowler at the Legacy Bowl. They're going to be like, why is he here?
Yeah, man, you can't. him, like even like a Kenny Gallup, who
Yes.
just another one that just did everything the right way, didn't leave, and just was consistently in the conversation for best defensive player or best player in the MEAC for 3 years. He was on the Buck Buchanan list, finalist list. So he's another guy I would say. But people like Kenny. Like, you talk around like scouts, they like the fact that he's 5'11, 220 pounds, has played consistent deep coverage, and he can play around the line of scrimmage. You don't see it a lot. I think he's a guy that you might be able to package him as a sub package linebacker. You can really do whatever you want with Kenny Gallup. He's another one of those kind of tweener that's a football player. And last two, Aaron Smith. I didn't bring him up. People love Aaron Smith as an upside. He's more of an upside guy for me too. The biggest thing with Aaron is be able to disengage and fight against these offensive linemen with physicality, and he has to show some more stopping power when he's tackling. I know he's an outside linebacker that got kicked in the inside. At the end of the day, if you're not slated as a will linebacker, you got to know how to be able to just fit up, be violent, be strong against the run when it comes to taking on offensive linemen. And last guy, I want to say Carter Runyon. Matter of fact, I was just me and you were talking about him.
He was on my list.
Yeah, Runyon, man. He's physical as a run blocker at that size. I mean, he's not really the most shifty guy, not a very fluid guy, but he finds ways to get open. He utilizes his body to be able to shield off small defenders. I think, and he doesn't drop the ball damn near ever. So I think him at tight end, and you already know how these tight end people love those big tight ends. I think he's a guy. I have like a PFA on him right now, but he's one that he does what he's supposed to do at the All-Star game. And if he tests well, I'm not sure if he got an invite to any combine or anything like that. But if he's a good tester with those hands and that size, I wouldn't be shocked if he's another day 3 guy either.
And the FCS has a history of sitting in some time. I mean, look at the playoffs this weekend.
Yeah,
I mean, all from FCS, damn near. Now, I will say some guys that you didn't mention. I will say with Ice, I think injuries really played a part in his grade because he missed an entire season, I want to say, due to injury. He got hurt earlier this year. Like, he's really battled. And listen, if you come from the FCS, it's unfair. And I'm not saying this right. If you have injury question marks, it's a killer. They're going to take you as a PFA and just hope you stay healthy. That's what's going to happen. You don't get to be the Georgia kid who goes first round after only playing 12 games.
No, you don't. In like 4
years. Yeah, like and I don't mean to be, it's just a harsh truth. Now, we'll say I mentioned this guy earlier. Land Larison is my probably number one guy. Yeah. If there was a guy who could be Dylan Lobby in this class, it's really Land Larison. Where
why do you think this? What are people overlooking with him?
I think it's versatility. Because I mean, really and truly, he can be a 3-down running back because his pass blocking is not terrible. I don't know if it's elite, but it's serviceable is where I would put it. Okay. He's a physical runner, athletic, shifty, can play. I think, and I'll say this, and this is I want to say it. This is kind of a stretch. Okay. I think his upside at wide receiver as a receiving back might be higher than Dylan was.
Ooh, boy. Yes.
I mean,
okay. I'm not even going to disagree with that. I'm not going to disagree.
Now listen, I want to go back and watch some film on to see if I'm missing anything, but this is a guy who led UC Davis in receptions and receiving yards this year.
I'm not going to disagree with you there. I take your opinion very.
And I'll say this: the thing I like about him is, and you know me, Joe, as an offensive lineman, the number one thing I hate is small running backs. Because Gerald, if me and you are 1-on-1, and I'm blocking you, and you reach out and grab my running back, and he falls, I'm more mad at the running back than you. If I got my hands on you, you should not be able to tackle him with one hand, and those shifty running backs will get pushed, and there ain't nothing they could do. Larison. Man, and this is the thing. I talked to Timothy Rosario about this. His story too is there. Like, this guy in high school, man, was like a state champion rodeo person. He wrestled steers in high school and was like an all-state wrestler. And to have that mindset as a running back is so rare.
You know what, Zach? I like when people make me go watch film again because I might want to rewatch it because I'm gonna rewatch it and we're gonna talk. Give me a. I want to rewatch it.
Yeah, we'll watch it and we'll discuss it. And also too, he was famous in high school. I don't know if you know this because he was at a party or something, and this person had like a heart attack in a pool, and he dove in, saved them, performed CPR, and saved their life in high
Oh,
school.
he's okay. So he's just
He's
a
one of
hit.
the like he just like the story is crazy. And also one guy I do want to mention, Josiah Silver, who I don't think he's going to any big All-Star games, but just
Mhm.
I don't think he's going to get drafted, right? But I do think he has the physical tools to be a PFA and potentially
Mhm.
make a roster just as a pass rusher.
Okay, I see. That's another one. Let me go make sure I review. I gotta go review. So that's cool. I
Now,
like this.
here's what hurt him, right?
Mhm.
The problem is his best year was his freshman year.
Mhm.
And I think that's what hurt him. Like, man, he came out as a freshman. It was so he got there in COVID, right? He's out of God, what's the high school up in Virginia that's known for just sending athletes? Is it like Phoebus?
Oh yeah, yeah. I know that school. Yeah, I know
Yeah,
some.
he came out of there, out of
Mhm.
Hampton. His freshman year, because he got there at COVID, they obviously didn't play. 80 tackles, 20 and a half for loss, 12 and a half sacks as a freshman. FCS All American, all this. But then it just like slowly kind of fell off. 2023, he battled some injuries, didn't really play much. This year had another All American year. He kind of reminds me of Pius out of William and Mary, who transferred up to Wisconsin.
Okay.
Little
Is he a
bit like
big?
that.
What's his size like?
He
You think he's like
6'2",
6'1"?
250.
Okay.
6'2", 250. He's kind of built like David a little bit
Okay, but is
with
he
the
explosive
skill set
like?
of Pius.
Oh, okay,
I don't
got
know
you.
if he's as listen, he's not David Walker, but he's built very similar to David Walker.
Okay.
And then two other ones I just want to mention real quick because they're going to big bowl games. Mike Smith out of Eastern Kentucky going to the Shrine Bowl.
Good.
In my opinion, just for me, and I want to watch. I need to watch probably 2 or 3 more games on him.
Yeah,
He was just a late bloomer, in my opinion. Like he was on no one's radar coming into the year, and then had an All American year for Eastern Kentucky this year. Kid
got you.
out of Florida, he's like 6'1", 6'2", probably about 200.
Yeah.
And I think he's more of like one of those PFA type of guys. I don't know if now listen, if he goes to the Shrine Bowl and balls out, we'll see. Then the
Mhm.
other guy we texted about him last night got a Senior Bowl invite out of nowhere, Keandre Jackson. I
Yeah.
watched one game of him last night. I
Mhm.
will say I see the upside potentially.
Okay, but it's not like
It's his size. He's
okay.
6'3", 220.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
Yeah, and he had 100 tackles this year, 3 picks, and like so the production was there, graded pretty highly. So I think it's the toolbox, like you said, it's the measurables.
So you know who I forgot, and I think I feel bad. Our boy Saku. Saku.
Yes, yeah. He had the quietest All American year in the country this year.
So I'm trying to figure out why, what happened, like why he's another one I think kind of went under. He's under the radar too, and I forgot to mention him because I was high on him when we first started the season. I think he got hurt like one game or something
Yeah,
like that this year, but I'm trying to think of what may have turned people off from him. I mean, the size is there, about 6 foot, 210 pounds, free and strong safety. Probably could play nickel. I think he's another one that might sneak up on somebody. 'Cause I don't know if he got any bowl game invites. Maybe I'm surprised Tropical Bowl didn't bring him, Hula
yeah.
Bowl
So
didn't bring him. So I honestly, man, it, the
Me
FCS has
me
been tough.
also too, like someone like and this is I guess for FCS guys, this is gonna have to be the new norm for fans, and I know no one wants to hear this. We're gonna have to fall in love with the guys who are PFAs who worked their way up into positions. A guy who I could see it, and he kind of he and listen, you everyone knows the school, Eastern Washington. They're known for wide receivers.
Oh,
Efton Chisholm is a guy who I think
yeah.
could be on some radars. I mean, just listen, man. When you got a guy who caught he had 4,000 receiving yards in a career, it just
I like that.
he's all yeah. I think Efton is the route runner. Like, and I hate it because listen, every white wide receiver gets like tagged with like the route
Yes,
runner. You know what I mean?
tough, 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 and
But
physical.
Efton is that right? Because let's just be honest. If Cooper Cup got unfairly labeled as that, right? Because Cooper
Yes,
Cup was just a freak
yes, he
a wide
was.
receiver. Efton's not that. Efton's that guy who's 5'11", 200 something pounds, plays similar to the Yankees.
Yes, he does.
And so I think that's where he is. And then also to Shonderick Powell at running back out of
Mm.
Central Arkansas is a guy who I'm interested to see because he went down and played at the I think it's the Hula Bowl, the one down in Orlando,
Yeah, it's Hula. Yep.
and I heard he balled out. And this is a guy who, I mean, listen, I mean, I want to say 2,500-yard rusher these past 2 years, was an All-American at North Alabama.
Yep.
Like the kid's got it now. The problem is he's 5'9".
Is he like a? But he's like
He's like
he's compact though. He's not skinny.
probably 180, 185.
That's kind
I'll say this. He's muscular, but
of.
he's
He's not.
not 205, 210. He's not bowling ball
Okay.
5'9". He's
Oh,
athletic 5'9". So I
okay.
do think it would take a program kind of falling in love with the skill set
Mm-hmm.
to get there. And then I do think I'll say there's a shit ton of former FCS guys that went FBS that could probably
Oh yeah.
be on the radar, right? I mean,
Those.
there's so many of them. I mean, I'll say Sheldon Arnold is a guy who I've kind of started to like a little bit at UCF. Was at ETSU.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to think off the top of my head real quick. Ty French went to
Yeah,
West Virginia out of Gardner Webb.
we said
Not bad. Is it Anton, the kid from UAlbany that went to Arkansas?
yes, correct.
Interesting prospect. I think he can slide in there. John Pius, we talked a little bit about him being compared earlier. Went to Wisconsin. There's some guys at the Shrine Bowl, man, for you that I'm really excited for. Brosmer, a
Yes,
quarterback out of Minnesota. I'll
yes.
say this: the guy who I think is going to kill the combine, Teddy Buchanan
You like
out of Cal.
I like him. I do. I scouted him for Shrine this year. I do like it. I think
Yeah,
he's very athletic for a linebacker spot. Like
twitchy.
yeah, he's like him and Aaron Smith kind of mirror each other with like how they're placed.
Agreed.
It's like yo, let the offensive lineman, let the defensive lineman eat up all this space so I can run around and be free and just use my quickness. So I think those are very
Marcus Harris at Cal too.
I love Marcus Harris.
Yeah. I'll say this. I didn't get to I saw Marcus play in person one time. I went and watched him play at the what is it called? The playoff game is Idaho, Southeastern Louisiana. And funny
Mm-hmm.
enough, another Shrine Bowl guy was there. Zy Alexander
Mm-hmm.
coming out of LSU was playing he had the game-winning interception in that game.
Oh,
And man, I did not know. I thought Marcus Harris was like 6'2" the way he played.
yeah, he's not as
He's
long.
not 6'2", but he
But he's
plays so much bigger than 5'11".
Oh yeah, he's dense too, man. He'll hit you too. I mean, he'll stop you right in your tracks. I love him. I'll probably have him close to the line of scrimmage personally. He might actually have a real nice carving out a nice role as a nickel next level.
Yeah.
I like him, and I think who else we got like Torricelli that we talked about
Yes.
earlier. Who else? Kriston Davis that went from Southern to Houston. And then you look at, I mean, if you want to count Felton and Tootin, I guess if you want to count those guys.
How do you do that? I mean, do you count would you count Travis and Shador and
I'm big on I'm big on having a degree personally. If you got a degree from the school, then cool. But I mean, I would say if you played 2-3 years, man, I mean that's
how I feel. Like I understand the 1 year rule, right? So like a lot of people just count guys who played 1 year at the FBS level. The 1 year, like the Marcus Harris's and the Teddy Buchanan's just played 1 year. But I think you look at a guy like Cam Ward played what 2-3 years in Incarnate Word.
Yeah, he did. Then he went to
how can you not claim him if you're Incarnate Word?
Hey, listen, you see what UAlbany does with Jared Verse. That's definitely
I don't blame him. I don't blame them at all. I mean, and the run of edge rushers they've had at UAlbany is just dumb.
Hey, listen, they have a plan. They know how to get the guys that they want and on the edge, and I like it. Whatever they say to them, I mean, they do leave sometime, but whatever they say to get them there, if it works,
it. Now, last topic, man. We'll Ron, I know it's your day off, man, so I definitely appreciate you, man.
That's so good.
Let's set these expectations, and I this is so dangerous, but we had to talk about it. And me and you texted the other day about this. I'm usually excited for draft season, and I still am, right? Because me and you, we get to know a lot of these players, and it's awesome to see them get drafted, man. When we know that we've been covering them since freshmen, and for me, I don't know how you feel about it. When I go to the Senior Bowl, go to the Shrine, and meet these other media members and scouts and stuff, for them to, be like, man, I've never heard of Elijah Williams, or I didn't know about Gray Zabel, and they're learning about these players. It's kind of cool, right? They deserve this shine finally.
Yes,
How
it's
many
great.
guys should where's the expectation at, man? We had what, 12, about 12, 11, 12 these past 2 years, had 24 3 years ago somehow. Then we had those 2 years of 6, which really got the expectations really low. Man, set the expectations for the FCS fans, man.
This is very dangerous. I would say do not expect a dozen. I would not, unless you want to count the guys that transferred out. If you want to count them, fine. But I will say right now, God, I would probably say shoot for 8. 8 would be a good number. 8 is fair. I just want people to understand that guys are transferring up. So once they get those big, once they get those deals, once they get the tape that is there, once they get the recognition, most of them are going to move up. So shout out to the guys that are on this list that we've talked about that stayed. And I'm pretty sure, I can guarantee you, everybody on this list has gotten a DM on Twitter from a big Power 4 school that said, hey, come on through.
Yes.
And they decided to stay. So with that, I, as a coach, I coached the D2, and now I'm the operations personnel guy on the FCS level. I'm here to just let everybody know that this is a new game, and you just got to. This is what it is. And for the guys that do stick it out, I applaud you. But I'm also not going to be the one to tell you if a big school is willing to give you 350,000, 500,000, 200,000,
Yeah.
150,000 to help you and your family. I am never going to be the guy to tell you don't do it. But for the
No.
guys that stayed, Grant, Walker, all you guys that stayed, and y'all made sure y'all supplanted yourselves as one of the best FCS prospects or FCS players that ever played, congrats to you. You deserve that. So let's shoot for 8. And
Are there
before,
any locks? How many locks do you think there are? Like, because me and you talked last year, I think we nailed all the locks, right?
yes,
Well,
you
me and
did.
you, like, how many locks are there, and who are they?
Dave Walker has to be
Yeah,
a lock.
Grant.
Grant's a lock. I would say, believe it or not, I think Ponder's a lock. I don't know how the league views Ponder in comparison to
I
how we
agree.
view him. I believe people are way higher on Zabel than maybe me and you
He's a
are.
lock for sure.
I know he's a lock. Slater, it's crazy. I don't think Slater's a lock. I don't think Yarns is a lock because of the running back class is so deep. And I would say where lock is not the right word. I will say I'll be surprised if he doesn't get picked up. But as you can see, it's man, we don't went.
That's 5.
I want to say one of the HBCU guys get it, but I don't see it. I just know we just need to just make sure, hey, get in the camp, do what you got to do. The game has really changed. You're going to see most of the draft picks are really going to be out from 2
P4.
conferences. Yeah. And really 2 conferences, really. Because,
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to see, you might see what? 2 Big 12 and 1 ACC in the first round. Day 2 might be the same. So you're really not going to see a run on ACC and Big 12 until 3rd round, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
This is so let's say 8, play it safe. Lock should be 5. It should be a lock of 4 to 5, and depending on how the things go, because we'll talk about this more as we get through the pro days and the
Yeah.
combine all-star games. But as of right now, 8, lock of 4 or 5, and I'm cool with that.
Yeah, and it will really help because obviously you count the 1-year guys who have been gone, so probably going to get like a Brosmer, a Marcus Harris, a Buchanan. So maybe push the locks up to about 8 or 9, like if you include those guys. But just pure FCS guys, I'm with you. I told everyone, I was like, if we can hit 10, I think it was an amazing year.
For sure,
I
definitely.
really do. And
Yeah.
I'll say this, and we can have a quick conversation about this because me and you talked about this. Please don't hit the panic button. If you're an FCS and HBCU fan, I get it. It's easy to hit the panic button. We do it every year, but we have the same conversation. At the end of the day, and I don't know how to say this. There, if there were surefire day 1, day 2 guys, they get drafted from the FCS level.
Yes.
But when you're borderline, at the end of the day, these GMs are going to take a chance on a kid from the P4 level. And the reason I say don't hit the panic button, the G4, no, my bad, the G5 rate is
Oh,
plummeting way quicker than the FCS rate.
way quicker.
So, and I will say this for the players, just because you go G5 does not guarantee you anything, and it might even be worse for you.
It might, because you're lumped in with FBS. So now you're lumped in
Yeah.
with all. So at least if you're a big fish, little pond, at least you're the big fish. Of course you'll have your occasional outliers, but I don't really use outliers to really give me a full viewpoint of what the heck is going on for real.
Yeah.
So yes, I want everybody to understand, yes, it's the P4 versus everybody, and it's really they try to make it the P2 versus everybody, but
Yep.
everybody just please, and we're saying on the show now, please save the take. I get it, it's going to be frustrating, but please don't do it. Don't do it. People like what they like. End of the day, if you have a 6'5", 280-pound defensive lineman from University of Georgia that has 2 sacks in 2 years, what are they going to say? He's toolsy with
Yep.
upside. You don't get that. You don't get that when you're not afford that. You're not afforded that at a low level. So guess what? You better just keep
Yep.
doing what you're doing. All right. There's nothing you can do about that. All you can control is what you can control. And end of the
And
day, you get in the camp, then you better make sure you stay.
And I don't know if we got to get this tattooed somewhere or make this name of the show. It is better to be an undrafted free agent than drafted in the
7th.
mid 7th round.
Yes, you get to
Please
pick.
remember that.
Yes,
And for all the different fans, moving to FBS, moving your entire university to FBS is not going to fix the problem. So can we avoid those conversations too?
yeah, it's not
We
worth
don't need to take the whole SWAC and move it into the Sun Belt, and that's not going to fix anything. So please, let's
it.
avoid that. Let's
Please.
avoid the conspiracy theories. Like, just calm down. Everybody take a deep breath. It's going to be okay.
It will be just fine. They will be playing. You'll be able to root for them in the preseason in August, and just make sure they do what they're supposed to do, and they'll be fine.
That's a fact. Well, man, Gerald, I appreciate you, man. Man, hey, shout out to you, man. I appreciate you taking the chance, man, to join me, not just on the show, man, but on the website all year, man. I've been loving the scouting reports, the rankings, and I think it makes us unique, man, because no one else does it in this space.
They don't, man. You gave
No,
me opportunity.
nobody.
They gave me opportunity, and I got more cooking up for you, man. So we'll be fine. I'm sure the next list I drop will probably be after the bowl games, and then I'll drop another one. I'll probably drop another top 10 list maybe after some pro days, and then right before the draft, I'll drop another one. So I'll probably
Yeah.
drop 2 more, and then we'll
Probably
just
once a month. I think for people, like, we'll probably drop one mid-February
okay.
after everything's done, and then probably early, like mid-March, like right before the draft comes around in April. So we'll have a few iterations of it. And me and Gerald will hop back on here right before the draft, man. Kind of give you guys an updated preview, man. But Gerald, real quick, let everyone know where they can find you, man. Social media, anything you want to plug, man. This time's yours.
Man, so Gerald underscore Huggins at what was it? What is my joint? Is it Coach Huggins? Sorry, Coach underscore Huggins the second on Twitter, on Instagram. You can find me there. You can find me on Bluebloods website. Doing my scout reports. What else do I have? We'll actually, me and Blue, we're gonna catch up at in Dallas this week.
Yep.
For the Shrine Bowl, so be sure to look out on the page for that. I'll be tweeting as I can, and Zach will be there as well. Showcasing all the things that our FCS guys are doing. But for the most part, I'm good. If you want to find me on LinkedIn, it's Gerald Huggins II. I'm not hard to find. So much love to the show, man. I appreciate you.
Hey, man, appreciate you guys. Make sure to go follow Gerald on everything. Check out the website, si.com/college/FCS, man. But for Gerald, myself, the Blue Bloods, FCS Football Central on SI, we are out for right now.